day before Texas Dreamin. I have a cup of tea, and I'm going to go through my presentations. So I'm Terry Cole, and I'm co-presenting with Devin Moore, and this presentation is called Lightning Page Layouts, Pages That Know. Say goodbye to classic page layout limits. So I am missionary and founder and executive director at Street Youth Ministry. I'm a two-time Salesforce MVP. I'm on Twitter. Um, I have a blog site that we'll cover at the end. Devin Moore is a graduate of Pep Up Tech. They prepare people of color for Salesforce careers. Highly recommend considering them their alumni when you're making a hiring decision. Devin is my junior Salesforce admin here at Street Youth Ministry. You can reach him or myself at those addresses. Street Youth Ministry has existed since 2008, and we've been using Salesforce since 2012. We are a day center for homeless young adults. We started in Austin, Texas. Now we're expanded in multiple cities, coming in now in San Marcos and New Braunfels, and coming soon to San Antonio. So all you Texas Dreamin' fans, don't think you can escape us wherever you live. We will be needing you as a supporter and a volunteer soon. We serve 80 homeless young adults per week, think college age. The average age is 24, but they can be minors as well. It's a diverse set. 33% are women, 25% are Black, 15% are Hispanic, about half are Caucasian. We use Salesforce in a 100% declarative way. 100% of our organization was developed internally by myself or Devin. We use several packages to make that possible. We have 10 users on 100% on Lightning. We use Salesforce to manage everything, our donors, our volunteers, our clients, and our followers or supporters. So we're here to talk about the transition from Classic to Lightning. And Classic page layouts are great, or at least, they're all right. Here's my Classic page layout in our live org. In the walkthrough, you get benefit of this. I can't do this at Texas Dreamin', but you have to make compromises. Our contact is a complicated thing because it has to represent donors and volunteers and staff and supporters and clients, and so we had to organize it in some way or another, and we put all the fields that mattered, no matter who you are, or usually mattered, no matter who you are, at the top. And we could have collapsible sections. So we tried to organize the information so a person could find it faster. And then, we have sections about volunteer info, and we have sections about client info, and we have, sort of output summary information, where you live, etc. And we just have more and more sections as you go down the page, and then finally you get to the related list, and we embedded graphs. So, we made the page layout work for us, but there are severe limitations. The collapsible sections, help you organize, but you really can't do things. People are always wanting to put information on the page twice, or they're wanting to have the page layout dynamic based on whether you're a volunteer or a donor or a client or other data, and you just can't do that. And so there are significant limitations. So in Lightning, you get a much more modern feel. You can organize the information in tabs and accordion section rather than collapsible sections. And you can mix the details and the related lists up. The related lists don't have to be at the bottom anymore. And so, it's going to look, so the Lightning, let's just switch to Lightning Experience. And the Lightning Experience page is going to look something like, something like this when you switch it over. And what we're looking at is called the Detail tab of Lightning. And the Detail tab is just a rendering in Lightning of your old classic page layout. All the information's there. Like Salesforce does a few little things, moves some buttons around and things like that, but they were kind of doing that in Classic too. So all the information is there. In fact, you can see the same the same sections are there and everything. It's okay. We get a highlights panel. We separate the related lists are on a separate tab so we can get to them faster and they're not way at the bottom. We have details, but it's just not really good enough. Um, if this is all you do when you switch to Lightning, your users are going to go, yeah, you switched to Lightning for you, not for me. This doesn't help me much, and they're going to grumble. So what can we do? And that's what this talk is about. So let me show you in Lightning the page layout we have for myself. So it's going to use the compact layout at the top, and I'm a complicated contact because I'm a volunteer and a client. I mean, I'm a volunteer and a supporter and a donor. So I have a complicated page layout, page header here. But if we were to move me out of the way, you would see that the first thing you see is that I'm a donor, and here's my donor information. I don't have to go. The first thing you see isn't, oh, these might be useful for everybody. Please try to fill them in. There's the donor information is first. You find out I'm a donor, and it's right there for you to see. And if you scroll on down a little bit, you also find out, oh, hey, he's a volunteer, and that's available. That information is available in the compact header, so I know that it says Terry Cole's a volunteer 74 times. He's a donor, etc. So I can alert the user right away how diverse I am, but the information is presented in the sections, but it can be the same data fields. I can care about some things for a donor more than the volunteer, so I present them in the donor section and I don't present them in the volunteer section, but I care about their name, and their email in all the sections. So when you're interested in volunteer stuff, you just go to the volunteer section, and if you need my email, there it is. And if you need my address, there it is. And you can keep scrolling down. You also find that there's some contact options for opting in, opting out, etc., that are at the bottom that are for everybody. And so that little section is for everybody. So that's all pretty cool. But if I go, for example, to Devin, if I go to Devin's contact information, he's not a donor. He's not a volunteer. And so this is the very same page layout. There's nothing going on manual here. There's no record page differences. His information says, hey, he's a supporter, and we ought to ask him to join a newsletter. And there's his information. If I need to update any of this, it's here. If he makes a donation, I can add a donation under donor details here. And so if he made a donation, I could add a donation. And then when I refresh this page or came to it again, it would show me donor information. So that's the power of the Lightning system when you do it this way. You get dynamic responses that users are going to be excited about. So we've got highlights panel, we've got components that show information that are sort of logically grouped together somehow, and we can turn those on or off based on the content of the data. Related lists are right there mixed in with the data if we want, and we can turn those on and off based on the record data. So it's really exciting. And you saw that we can add rich text components to give guidance. So we can announce this is a VIP donor, or we can announce this is a donor, or we can announce, hey, there's a piece of donor information missing about that we want on all donors. Be sure that we have their whatever the set of information is that we want. And when they fill that in, that advice will go away. So it's really exciting to be able to do all of that. So Devin is, well, anyway, so it's very exciting. And there is a trick to breaking out into this new paradigm. What we're doing is we're using the related record component. And Salesforce provides this standard, and it's kind of meant to, for example, show the account information on the contact. So it's meant to say, okay, I'll show you some fields of the related object, and you show me what lookup field to use, and make a list of the fields you want to show, and I will show it to you on the contact page. I'll show you some account fields on the contact page, and that is extremely powerful, and you can do that. But there's a hack you can do to this component, or a trick you can do that they built into it. It's not really a hack; they built it in. Instead of picking a lookup field, you can say this object. And now that component is willing to show you a set of fields about this object. And that's what we're using over and over again on our pages to break our records down, so that we're not relying on the old page layout, which has very few options. So, and the way you set up the fields is you create a quick action. And you probably won't use that quick action in any other way, but you're just using it as a method of specifying which fields do you want me to know about. It's like a field set, but they're using a different source for the metadata. They're using a quick action. So this has a lot of pluses that I've talked about. It has a couple drawbacks. The page can be busy. You saw that you got to keep scrolling to find out information. That's why the compact header is up there. You need to put what the user needs to know immediately in the compact header, or path, by the way. And then they'll know to scroll on down. And second, it can result in a slower page loading. Lightning is so much more efficient at the user that, in my opinion, they don't care once they understand that this is the only page I'm going to need to load. So yeah, it's taken 4 or 5 seconds to load, so I'm good. But because of all those components, it can take a little longer to load. I'm looking for Salesforce to improve that. You also may get warnings from the optimizer saying you've got too many Lightning components on your page, but nothing. In my experience so far, nothing breaks. We've been beta testing this method for about a year now, and other than slight page speed issues, we're not seeing anything else, and they're more than compensated, in our opinion, by the productivity that we're getting and the focus on the data. So if you start changing your page layouts to not be like just putting the old classic page layout in Lightning, you're going to want to add conditional guidance. You're going to break the information into pieces. You're going to move the related lists kind of next to the data that they make sense. You're going to want to make all of it turn on and turn off based on if it's needed to be shown. If there's no real reason to show a bunch of blank data. So if you've got a set of data that only applies to children, make it conditional based on their age. If you've got a bunch of data that only matters if you're a donor, make it conditional on whether you've ever given any money or not. If you've got a bunch of data that's only useful if you're a customer, make it based on whether you've ever placed an order or not. So we've talked about data. We've talked about related lists. Buttons are a little frustrating in Lightning. Salesforce is working on that. There are some add-on components that allow you to put buttons in more places than out-of-the-box Lightning allows you to put. And it's on the roadmap to be able to put buttons pretty much wherever we want. But definitely we can. And you need to know that in Summer 19, related lists becomes ridiculously powerful. It becomes almost identical functionality on the Lightning page as list views are, and list views are enormously powerful in Lightning compared to Classic. So there's just really rich features coming to your Lightning page if you follow this kind of a style. Perhaps you don't have to be as crazy with it as we have, but I wanted to experiment and learn how to put a page together that does not rely on the Classic layout in any significant way. So here are steps for how to do it. You define your quick actions to make lists of fields, or the equivalent of field sets. These are visible lists of fields, and it'll show them in the order you want. And you may be putting more fields on that quick action than you would normally be advised to put on a quick action, but you're not going to really use it as a quick action. It's just being used for the metadata list. You're going to place the related object and point it at this object. You're going to set up the visibility so that it's only visible for records that have data to show. You're going to add rich text components to the page to tell the, to at least put a heading on this thing and potentially advise the user. Like if you're a donor, we have one of three headings is going to show. It's going to say VIP donor if your level is above our VIP threshold. It's going to say donor if you're a donor and all your information is present, or it's going to say donor and we really need you to update this record right away. Be sure it has all the fields that we care about, and there's a list of them. And so you see one of those headings, but only one of those headings when you open a donor record in our app. So you want to give guidance. You want to place related lists near the information that makes sense, and you want to make them conditionally visible or not. And then you've got a pretty powerful page. So the takeaways from this talk: break away from the details page tyranny now. We've all pushed classic page layouts as far as possible, and I'm really encouraging you not to bring those limitations into Lightning. Lightning conversion is not about switching to Lightning. Lightning conversion is about examining the way you use data and your workflows and making it possible to do that from one page, if at all possible. That's the power of the browser-based Lightning system. Use existing components. They work great. Add conditional guidance, text, images, warnings, guidance. Lightning components can make your pages even more expandable. There are button components. There are other components that help you do this. And the future holds even more because Salesforce is investing heavily in this. They're going to give us more ability to control where fields and buttons go quickly. So thank you very much. Can't ask any questions online, but you are welcome to contact me with questions if you're watching this online. We have a blog site at mightyforce.org. It will contain this video as well as lots of other helps, primarily aimed at small nonprofits who need to be small but mighty, but it's applicable to everyone in most cases. So thank you very much. Here's a trail that will help you if you've never done page layouts. This trail can walk you through some of the basics of doing the page editing in Lightning. So please do. Since you've made it to the end, I'll give you a small bonus when it comes to these things. You will notice we have lots of apps at Street Youth Ministry, and we make the app about getting a job done. So this is our main app, and if you're going to send the newsletter, this is our app. But let me move. This is the beta app. So if you go to our homepage, you're going to see a page layout that is not the same as what I showed you. This is the page layout for our everyday users who are happy doing things the way they are. It's still Lightning, of course, but they're happy doing things the way they are. Let's see. Here's my. Well, maybe it doesn't remember that I looked up myself. Let me go to my contact, and you can see. Sorry. So this is my contact with our official release page right now. And, it looks mostly the same, but it doesn't have as much dynamic guidance. Doesn't identify the VIP donor, and so on. So some people want to know how we're doing pictures. We're using the Share and Pics app in a free manner to upload and display photos. But you can switch to the beta app. The beta app is for users who want to be testing or using the latest thing that we're about to release. So we've been working on the beta app since, I don't know, about February or so. And at the end of June, we will turn the beta app pages into the main pages and release a little video that train our users about it. And then we will update the beta pages with whatever our new ideas are. And so in this beta page, you start to see the things that I showed you in the talk. So you can, I actually recommend, I'm not suggesting you don't need sandboxes, but I'm suggesting that page layouts can be done safely in your main org, and you even want to, because that way you can have your admins should be using the beta pages to the degree that they use Salesforce, and you should have super users or fast adopter users using the beta pages once they're stable enough so that you get feedback and can change them. Then you cut over your beta pages to your main pages, and you've got a really nice dev system going that gives you good response from users. All right, so that's our talk. Thank you very much. Head over to mightyforce.org. I'll go there, mightyforce.org, for more blogs and more videos. If I weren't recording this video, it wouldn't be quite so slow, but anyway. Thank you very much. And I hope we saw you at Texas Dreamin, and thanks for watching, and leave comments or feedback or contact us. Thanks much. Bye.